Hello, and welcome to the Daring to Succeed podcast. I'm your host, Juliana Yao Jorgen, and today I'm joined by Hannah Goodman, who spent over a decade as an executive assistant in fast paced corporate environments, including the NHS, private medical practices, and executive recruitment. She now operates her own VA business and helps aspiring and new VAs launch and grow successful virtual assistant businesses of their own. Together, we're bringing you a two-part series on how business leaders and VAs can build a partnership to grow both of their businesses together. Today, we're going to start with the small business owner, founder, or even executive who's ready to offload some of the work they've been doing for years so they can focus on strategy, business growth, and client delivery. Before we start, Hannah, could you tell us a bit about that pivot point for you where you moved from being a VA or EA to becoming more of a mentor for other VAs who wanted to build their business?
So first of all, hi Juliana. It's so lovely to be here with you today. I've been so excited. So very interesting first question that you asked me. So the thing that really encouraged that pivot at the time was I had many clients in my own virtual assisting business, and I think a lot of people at the time kept approaching me saying, Hannah, how did you set up this VA business? Like, this is amazing. You've got all these clients, you can work the hours and the days that you want to work, and it's on your terms. Like, how do you do this? And that was the point where I thought, oh my gosh, I can actually help people set up their own businesses. And that was the actual pivot point where I started to help people set up their businesses. And I started by doing that by probably with a few people that I knew personally. And then suddenly I got more referrals and it just grew from there.
Oh, amazing. I think you're going to bring such a good perspective for the people who are trying to build their own businesses and look for a VA to offload some of their work too, because you yourself are a business owner who has gone through the pivots and all of the pain points of not just starting your own business, but I mean almost rebuilding it from scratch every time you pivot and start building that new audience. So I'm so excited to get going. This topic was something that we were both really excited to bring to you because both as small business owners, we know it's really hard to kind of take care of everything on your own and still grow the business. And from my corporate experience, I know it's really hard to figure out what to delegate and find the right person to trust to delegate to. And I'm sure, Hannah, you've seen it too, that it's just as hard on the business side.
Yes, absolutely. So delegation is actually one of those number one things that small business owners especially find extremely difficult to navigate, especially when they're first looking or trying to think about hiring their own virtual assistant. Usually my best advice to a small business owner or a founder is to actually start delegating work to a virtual assistant before you get too busy. It's very important that you don't already have too much work, because then you're going to not have enough time to actually find the time to hire that virtual assistant. So usually that time to start thinking about hiring one is when you're on the edge of thinking, I've got too much work, I'm getting overwhelmed. That is when you should start thinking about hiring someone.
Yeah, and I guess for some people that almost sounds counterintuitive because, especially if we're trying to optimize everything, get everything going, we don't want to, spend money and time where it's not critical yet. But having gone through it myself, I know, Hannah, you are so spot on with that because it does take time to not only find the right person, but to train them and figure out like what is it that they can bring to the business? What can they take off of your hands? What can you trust them with
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you've set them up for success so that they're doing the task or looking after the part of your business that you want to entrust with them and run your business at the same time. So if you're already overwhelmed, you're not going to have the time to do that.
Exactly. Very well said, Juliana. I completely agree with you on all those points. Like, for example, usually the first things that I advise founders to delegate to someone is things like repetitive tasks. So if you feel like you're doing the same task over and over again, and you think it's something that somebody else can easily do, and you can easily train someone to do that, then that should be something that you delegate to someone quite early on. And this then helps you free up some time, because if you think about it, if you're freeing up time in your own business, then that gives you more time to actually focus on the important things in your business, which is actually earning money. Because a lot of the time, say you earn £300 an hour doing the job that you love doing, and it only costs £30 an hour to hire a virtual assistant. Well, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer to hire the VA to do those small tasks for you.
Yeah.
Because then you're earning a lot more money doing the job which you're good at and which you love doing.
Yeah. And I think this is a good time to talk about something we were chatting about while we're getting everything set up about being able to sort of buy increments of time with the VA. Because I think a lot of the times when we think of getting outside help, we think, oh, I need to hire somebody part time or full time and what that looks like. But I know, Hannah, you suggested that a founder start with maybe 5 hours or a
Yes.
small block of time rather than committing to large chunks of time. And I think that can help um, sort of put the right mindset in those founders' minds with um, how to start small and how to give those increments of work to a VA.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's an excellent point, because that is actually what I advise VAs when I'm actually mentoring them.
Mm.
Is I actually advise them to have like a 5-hour starter package. That's the reason for that is because when a founder or small business owner is just starting out or just thinking about hiring a VA, sometimes the best way to do that is to just have someone for 5 hours,
Mhm.
just something small, just to see how you get on with each other.
Yeah.
Because then if you feel like you don't get on well with each other, then you've spent 5 hours worth of money, you've got a bit of work done, but it's okay, you can part ways.
Yeah.
Whereas if you feel like you do get on very well, you've invested 5 hours into each other, and it's so easy to be able to then up your hours to 10, 20 hours and increase it from there.
Yeah. And I think especially because most of us who have built our own businesses and are still the only person inside the business, it's so hard to kind of not only give up the work, but trust that the person you're giving it to is going to perform it at the same level as you have or
Mm.
hopefully better.
Yeah.
Because I know I'd be delegating stuff that I don't like doing. Um, but it's building that trust, and I love the idea of starting with 5 hours because usually I've seen some other VAs who will be like, "Oh, you can sign up for 40 hours with me a month." I'm like, what I'm basically
Yeah,
giving you my whole job? Like, how do I feel 40?"
absolutely not. No, so I usually wouldn't advise anybody to want to start off with 40 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea to start off on a smaller
Mhm.
package, because then, as you said, like, we get to know each other better. You build that communication, whether you have a good relationship, how you work together. And if you say did 40-hour package on the get-go when you start going, it can be a bit crazy. Because also, especially when that person and you're both starting to work together, things might be a bit slower when you're starting, which could mean you're wasting time. And you don't want to waste time. You want somebody to know exactly what they're doing, have that communication, and you build it from there nicely.
Yeah. And I really like that idea because it not only does it let you test out the relationship and how you get along, but does it also lets you test as a founder, is that the right work to be offloading to someone? Like I know we were chatting, Hannah, earlier about how I tried to offload some of my social media work at some point because as much as I love seeing like animals on Instagram, trying to create content for it isn't really my expertise because I'm more of a writer.
Exactly.
Right. So trying to think of like how do I turn this into an image for Instagram was like just taking up so much of my time. So I thought, okay, maybe I can offload that to a VA
Yeah.
who specializes in
You
marketing.
wanted to delegate it to someone else who specialized in that industry.
Exactly. But I ended up signing up for 3 months with someone.
3 months.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Which unfortunately I hadn't met Hannah yet to tell me how to do this properly. But I think it was a combination of things. Obviously, the type of marketing they were doing, the type of clients they were looking to serve wasn't really me.
Mm-hmm.
My business and the way I want to um, share my insights to people isn't really the standard either. So they had a really difficult time adjusting to the way I wanted to work and the type of content I wanted to produce.
Yeah, so you weren't aligning with each other.
Exactly. So it was a long 3 months.
My gosh, 3 months. That is a long time.
Yeah. So I did end up getting some really great templates out of it, but like the week to week work was just I kind of wish I had a Hannah to let me know to start with 5 hours so I could have just been like, I don't think this is working out. And it actually was more work for me to train and constantly work with them to adjust
Yes.
the content.
Yes.
But I didn't actually do it myself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So that is actually, you don't want to end up spending more time training your VA because then that defeats the whole point of hiring a VA to do the work for you.
Yes.
You ended up spending more time training.
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. So I found a different way to do it now. But I guess word to the wise for founders, definitely, especially if it's your first time delegating work that is yours, something that you've done for yourself. It's so important to start with those smaller chunks. But I think we've talked about that quite a bit. So maybe let's shift focus a little bit to how do we find that right VA for us? Because I know there's so many VAs out there. I don't know about you, but I constantly get contacted by VAs on LinkedIn pitching their services. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to figure out like who's the right one for me and what do I even need? How do I work with them? How do I get started? How do I test them out? Like,
Yeah,
Hannah,
no,
maybe
yeah,
talk us through.
absolutely. Yes, that's an excellent question. And you're very right when you say you get VAs contact you in the DMs. I get that myself all the time as well. And I'm like, you realize what job I do? Like, I'm actually a virtual assistant myself, and you're asking me if I need a virtual assistant. You don't think I already know people? Anyway, the main ways that you are able to find virtual assistants is that there are actually places like Facebook groups where you can find people.
Yeah.
And there's also places on LinkedIn, there's communities, there's loads of places out there. Another very interesting way where you can find someone is if, say, you have a specialized industry and you want somebody to actually specialize in your industry as a virtual assistant, you can search for them in the search bar on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, especially when I'm training virtual assistants, I advise them to niche down to what they want to specialize in. And the best way for them to do that is by optimizing their LinkedIn profile, by putting what they specialize in on their headline.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, if you were to type in what type of VA that you want, into LinkedIn, you would find that type of VA pop up in the search bar on LinkedIn because they would have it listed on their optimized profile.
That's so great because I know the first few times I tried to find a VA, I was advised to look at some of the offshore companies, and I just not only because I wanted to work with somebody who understood the geography of the clients I was
Hmm.
targeting, but I also didn't like the idea of having to pay a finder's fee or pay to access a directory of VAs,
Yeah,
not even knowing the quality of VA that I could find. Like, it was sort of a, you pay us first, then you get to see who we have on the roster. So I love being able to just search for them on LinkedIn or join a Facebook group that can sort of have a pool of VAs for me to chat with and check out.
exactly. And the huge benefit of that is that it means you're able to almost have as many discovery calls with as many different VAs as you want until you find the right fit.
Yeah.
Because VAs are always more than happy to have a initial call with you, a one-to-one for like 30 minutes, see how you get on with each other,
Mhm.
how you're able to work together, and whether your goals align.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a VA isn't there to just help with what you do, they're there to support you and almost be like a partner,
Yeah.
but like a silent one in the background who helps build your business.
Yeah, and thinking about needing to kind of get ready for those discovery calls, how much do you think we should get sort of prepared for those calls? Like, should we have an actual task ready to talk about, or is it more of sort of a general idea of what I want delegated? Like, how much work do we need to do before we even talk to a VA?
You don't need to really do much work at all. If anything, it's actually up to the VA to usually conduct these meetings with you. It should be up to them to ask you the questions. How can I help you? What's overloading you too much? How much work are you doing? Are there any tasks which you think you can delegate to me? What tasks do you think you're doing too much of? It's usually up to them to be able to say, and just help guide you in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, but I'm always an over preparer, so it's good to know that a good VA already knows how to walk you through the whole process and the
Hmm.
discovery.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you do want to prepare yourself, then come with like a list of things that you already want to be done. So, say you want to have social media work done for yourself, you come into the call and say, would you be able to post 3 posts a week on LinkedIn and 2 on my Instagram account, and maybe say exactly what you do want. If you want to do it with that approach, then that's also good because then at least you're setting up your expectation of what you want your potential VA to be doing for you.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good, and like you said before, it really comes down to, like, fit and how well you work together. It's almost like you are kind of interviewing an employee, but you don't have to do all the things like pay their benefits.
Exactly. And that is a very interesting point that you've mentioned there about almost like the difference
Yeah.
of having an employee or hiring a virtual assistant. Like having an employee, it can mean things like you have to pay for their sick pay,
Yeah.
their equipment,
Yeah.
their holiday pay. The list can go on.
Yeah.
Whereas if you hire a virtual assistant, you are literally just paying for them to do the job for you,
Yeah.
to do the job that you want in the hours. And with an employee, like you're paying for them to go to the toilet. Honestly, like if you think about it, you're paying for all these like added things, whereas with a virtual assistant, when they sit down to do your job and to do the task at hand which you want them to do, that is the only thing that they are prioritizing for that time.
Yeah. And I guess those of you in the service and consulting industries, that should sound really familiar because we basically bill either by the hour or by the project. So I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, I think this was a great sort of intro to how to get your head around finding the right VA and even what to think about in terms of the work to delegate. Because I know I've talked to a lot of people who are a little bit more specific with here are the exact things that you need to delegate out to a VA. But I know, Hannah, you probably feel the same way where every business owner and every business is so different that there's not really any like must delegate list of tasks because of what that business looks like, what the business owner um, is comfortable with doing and enjoys doing versus a different business owner and how they run their business.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, a virtual assistant is there to save you time.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, it frees up your time to be able to do the job that you love, not the boring admin stuff on the side. And don't get me wrong, virtual assistants don't just do admin. As we said, they specialize in things and they're usually extremely good and they're experts in their field.
Yeah.
So if you want to grow your business, then hiring a virtual assistant can actually help you, for example, build systems, get things maybe a bit more automated for you,
Yeah.
get processes in place. There's just so many different things that you can use virtual assistants for.
Yeah. And I find that it does really help, especially if you're on the cusp of that first big push and growth in your business to work with a virtual assistant because um until you start to bring somebody into your business, you don't really know how your operations are because you're just stuck like doing it every day.
Hmm.
And I know when I've found a good virtual assistant to work with to offload some of that work, it's like, okay, I guess I can standardize how things are done, and I guess I don't have to do all of this on my own.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to the point where you can almost compartmentalize the things that need to be delegated to your VA.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, I've now got all this extra time. Like, do I spend more time on my business or do I just actually have free time for my own life? You can actually get your life back,
Which
spend more
was the
time with
whole
family.
point in the first place.
Exactly. So just think of all that time you're freeing up and how much time in your life you can get back to spend time with your friends and family rather than having those late nights, evenings, working through the night, because a virtual assistant is more than happy to be doing those tasks for you.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. Well, Hannah, it was so great having you here to chat about the business side of finding a VA. Next time, we're going to talk about the VA side of the world and what it takes to get started and find the right clients. But thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Juliana, thank you so much for having me here today as well. It's been so lovely and I'm so excited for our next session.
Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.